How are you?
Yeah, thank you.
Good. Hello to everyone joining us for episode 5 of A Measure of Marketing. And today we're chatting through blogs, why they're an important part of a content marketing strategy. And we're really building, aren't we, on episode 4, which was all about content marketing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is a great topic because once you've got your content strategy in place, I feel like most people do either go to like social media or blog content for their website. And there's a bit of a skill to it, isn't there? There's various different hats to wear whilst writing a blog, and there's ways to write a blog that will support your website and your visibility overall. Almost like a dual action, or a dual solution almost, in some ways, that it's helping your audience and it's also helping your business at the same time.
Yeah, it's very much like a two-pronged attack, really, to be able to, it's a bit of a win-win if you get it right. Yeah, it's a good solution.
Yeah. So why do you think then blogs are an important part of a content strategy?
Well, I think content marketing as a whole is really important to a small business because it's a way of attracting new business, retaining clients as well. And I know we chatted this through in the previous episode. I think blogs are an important part because one, they're quite easy to produce in comparison with other content types like video or podcasts or PR, whatever else, different strategies. But I think as well, you can make them short and punchy enough to cover different subjects that resonate with your customers, and also allow them to kind of see that you're credible in your field, you know what you're talking about, your expertise shines through with what you write, and it bridges that gap between them, that sort of buyer's journey that they're on, and it bridges that gap between them not knowing much about you apart from obviously what you've put on your website, but you going a little bit deeper and being able to answer any questions that they've got or any challenges that they have. You can pose those solutions within your blog, and we'll come on to, I'm sure, like different lengths of blogs that you can write or blog posts that you can write to capture and tick all those boxes.
Yeah, definitely. And as you said, it holds a lot of credibility, doesn't it? So I guess someone's entering your website and they're probably going to look at your services, look at a little bit more about you on your about page. They're either going to then go to blogs, I would say, for like, I need some instant advice and help. Has this person written something about that? Or they'll have gone to Google and probably typed in the problem that they're having, and actually you want your blog to come up to the top, don't you, so that someone can find you in that way. And we was just chatting about the purpose of blogs, either supporting your business from a visibility perspective, so you need a good range of content and blogs on your website to hit people's questions and their different stages of the buyer's journey, or to provide that advice so that they can actually tick off some things themselves. There's quite a few things that it's helping with, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And to be able to think of it more strategically and to factor this in with your campaigns, what content you're going to create. Blog posts can be planned and they can be strategic in that sense, but equally they can be reactive. So it could be to certain thing that's come up, or a particular newsworthy story that you want to react to and you want to provide a response to that's going to resonate with your industry or within your field.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess we're going to go through now like how to start writing a blog, things to do. So it is quite almost like a to-do list, tick list episode almost. And the things to do are for the purpose of your customer, and so Google picks up your content and resurfaces it for you in the right way. And there's a skill to writing a blog, so Google does that, isn't there? Which we're going to chat about now.
Yeah, I think sometimes people like to write and be reflective and to be quirky with what they write, and that's their writing style, and it's very much mine. I'm very much a reflective style writer. But sometimes when you don't write what people are looking for, it doesn't get found. And I think this is one of the things I've learned over the years working with copywriters and web designers as well, and just through my own work as a marketer. If you pose a question and you answer it, you're more likely to tick the box for Google than you are doing something really quirky and putting a title that just doesn't make any sense to anyone until they've got to the bottom of the blog post. Absolutely. So I think it's being really smart with it, and knowing that, you know, this is where you tap into what we've said before. What do our customers, what do they ask us when they needed help? What were their challenges? You know, and that almost could give you half a dozen blog posts over the course of 6 months just to factor in as part of your strategy. And just by answering them, you know, you're helping Google, and you're helping your customers find you, and you're helping your business. So that's when we say this sort of two caps and two-pronged attack with writing. You cover all bases.
Yeah, and that reflective writing, I'm definitely one of those people, but I leave that to my emails. So when an audience and an email newsletter, you can do that within there, 'cause it's a confined space and people are already really interested in what you've got to say. But you're right, yeah, Google, there's a skill, and just like in episode 4, your content strategy, it's about your customer. It's not about essentially what always you want to write about, or like the depth of your industry that you want to write about. It sometimes needs to be quite simple, because people are coming to you, particularly us. I think you'll find is we know marketing in a lot of detail, but actually the people that we're serving don't, and they just need to know the simple aspect to it instead, and that's what you need about.
Yeah, and I think if you were a bigger organization and you've got a team, you know, that focus on your content, all different types, you know, you can kind of take those little, not risks, but you could break it down with some more personal reflection, or, you know, something that is a little bit quirky that grabs attention, because, you know, that works. But if you've got limited time, limited resources, and you're not au fait with copywriting or au fait with blogging, then keep it simple and, you know, work to answer any question and tick that box.
Definitely. So how do we start to write a blog? Like, what process do you go through? I have a little process. I don't think there's like a right or wrong answer to this. But yeah, be interested to see how you write your blogs. You're really good at writing blogs. Yeah, you're good at writing.
Oh, that's really sweet of you to say. Thank you. It's say again.
You are very good.
Oh, that's really kind. It's taken me a while to get quick at it. You know, it's, especially if I'm writing for myself or for Maisie Marketing, takes me a while. But certainly for clients, I'm quite quick at producing something. I think I start with, if it's part of a campaign, I go back to my campaign plan and I look at the key messaging as to what I need to factor in. But I also look at, okay, well, what is it that my customer needs to know as part of this topic? What are they looking for? And there's different research that you can do, from what we've spoken about, from going to your sales, to your business development team, to your account management team. And then there's also websites like People Always Ask, or actually just putting in a question in Google and seeing what those other questions that come up, because it shows you what other people want to know based on what you've just Googled. So that's probably my starting point. And then from there, I think about my structure, and I would just structure out a blog post as to, okay, this is kind of where I'm going to start. This is my middle. This is my end. Can I put in any, you know, internal links or testimonials from clients? And, you know, I know we probably should go through a step-by-step kind of, you know, approach to what you should include. But bit of research, provide the framework, and then chip away at it. And it when you start, it feels overwhelming and you think, I can't get all this down on a bit of paper. So a few bullet points to get you going, and that's what I provide clients with, a few bullets, and then it sort of starts to come together. But yeah, that's how I'd start it, that framework from that initial research.
So I will instant. So if I just keep doing examples of my own, but if I was to write a new blog now, I've got a tracker and everything, but I would then just have a think about the clients that I've recently taken on, or conversations that I've had with people at a networking event, and what questions I was asked. And sometimes I'll stop and think, oh, that's too basic. But then I'm like, no, that's what I was asked. So I then follow the same process as you. Like, I'll just incognito window because it hasn't got all of my browse history on there.
Yeah.
And I'll just ask that question, the same question. And then I'll have a little look at topic, like articles, blogs that are coming up across the same topic. And just have a little read. I think then you get like a idea of either like subheaders and like other pieces of content that's coming in, or conversation that's coming into them blogs as well. And then I'll do the same. I'll just start to draft out. So I always start at the top with my main title. What am I actually trying to answer here? And then I'll almost try and do subheaders next. To break it down, and then always try and add in something that's like a bullet point section or a question and answer, and then I'll look for images at the same time at that point. And then think, so I'll do the top and I'll do the bottom and the subheaders but I don't do the words at that point. I don't know if I do this really backwards, but then I'll do so I'm like, where do I want someone to go next with this? Or is there something within my website that this will link to also? Or do they need a call with me for me to go over this in more detail? And then, so I'll put something at the end as a little reminder for myself of where to get past the customer to next, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And I think, I think the way you do it is literally to come up with that structure to help you. And I think if you, I think the other thing to throw in the mix that I've started to do more so now, because I'm just plugging in my battery before I lose you. One of the things I've started to do is a little bit more research into statistics. If I can support what I'm saying, be it, from a recent report, or, just to throw a little bit in there as well. I think that tends to throw a bit of credibility behind what you're saying as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so that's either adding in statistics as written form, or you can add in a bit of copy and then a backlink essentially to somewhere else, can't you?
Yeah. And I love how you threw in images, because I learned sort of early on from a graphic designer colleague of mine, and from a LinkedIn conversation I was having, that images break up the text within blog writing, because if you have too much text, it's just, people don't read it. So the images sort of break it up, and they can support the text as well, and sort of bring it to life. But equally, by putting in an alt tag, be able to tell people what's behind the image, and if you're quite clever, those images also appear in Google search images for, and it's really clever. It's something that, it took me a little while once I got into copywriting and everything else as a specialist and service. To throw in the mix.
Yeah, I've been writing blogs for some years now, but for different organizations, but we never really went into this level of detail when we wrote the blogs. I think then like a digital team did it instead. But I've learned loads over the last year, especially on those little tips and tricks on where to put your keywords, which we're going to talk about in a second, keywords or key phrases, and how to just have that like strategic mindset to support your own visibility. But one thing also with images as well, anything on your website, is to make them compressed, so to shrink down the size of them is another key little tip there to do.
Yeah, it's really good for web design. It takes ages for your site to load, and Google doesn't like that. So
no. So once you found a topic, so say if we was writing about how to create a content strategy, so looking back into episode 4, What do you then do in terms of finding the right keywords and key phrases? So a keyword and key phrase for the audience is the main topic of your blog, which you are going to write about. So if our title of the blog was how to write a content strategy, that essentially is your key phrase.
Yeah.
So people would go into Google and type, how do I write a content strategy? Or I need help with writing a content strategy. So you can see there how the title of our blog supports the customer question and the customer Google search. So how do you know that that is the right thing to write about and is going to bring in, like, lots of people are asking for it, which is called
Yeah. I think it's more about the string, more about the sentence than say keyword and how I write.
Yeah.
And I try and be as described as I can. So how to write a marketing strategy for a small business, how to write a marketing strategy for a charity. Because people don't want a marketing strategy for a big company if they're a small community interest company, for example. So that would be my string, and I would keep it really detailed. And I suppose I work it in where I can without overloading it, but I will purposefully think about the URL, or what we call the slug that would appear in the website, in the browser window at the top. And I'd think about my headings, and I'd make sure that in all those places for Google, it knows exactly what I'm writing about, because that then tells Google, when someone asks, how do I write a marketing strategy for a small business, it pushes that to them, because there is without any doubt what this piece of content is for and who it's for.
Yeah.
So this is where, when I say about that reflective kind of quirky writing, it's great, but it's not what Google wants.
Yeah. And essentially that whole blog has got to be on that the title. So
yeah,
starting to write about how do I write a content strategy or a marketing strategy, and then at the end of it you're talking about social media posts or something completely random that doesn't even fit in with marketing altogether. It has to just answer that question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And your subheaders, which are called H2s in a blog, have to be almost like a follow-on from the question. Do you do that? Do you think of it?
I do. I kind of think top level, so you've got the title, page title, and the URL being pretty much the same. And if you can make your heading one exactly, and this is going into like the back end really of website design, but equally it's if you just to write it in Word, when you've got the options of title and head one, I think top level, title, page title, and heading one, all pretty much the same. Then your heading twos almost break up the copy underneath, but your heading twos have to reference what that string is. So if you had how do I write a marketing marketing strategy for small business, one of my heading twos might be why is a marketing strategy important for a small business? So I would kind of, break it down without being too anal about putting in the same word in, but you're almost supporting everything that goes before it.
Yeah, definitely. So we're adding in the key phrase, keyword in the main title, which is your H1. Also in the first sentence as well. So some of it happens naturally, doesn't it? Because you're more than likely going to start off your blog using the term marketing strategy or content strategy, depends on what you're writing about. So to add your key phrase in there as well, the URL, the slug that we've mentioned, so that's after your .co.uk or .com/. And then the relevant subheaders, the H2s underneath. I've also got in my head, I don't know where I learned this from, but to add it into the last sentence as well.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
quite like that. Yeah.
And then to always add a call to action at the end, like we've already discussed. So think of your blog as, how can I help this person? How is it going to help me? based on the Google search, but then where are they going to go next within the site? So you essentially want to keep them on your website for as long as possible, or get some intrigue into another topic that's associated with writing a marketing strategy or a content strategy in this instance.
Could be another blog post, could be a case study, could actually be your contact form if you didn't have another journey form.
Yeah. And then to add keywords in your alt text where appropriate for your images as well. And sometimes you have an excerpt. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
So there's lots of spaces for it to go. There's also an opportunity of renaming your images as well. And before you upload them into your website, I think you can rename them when they're in there as well in some.
In the library,
adding them in appropriately there at the same time. And then you've got your meta description. You've got like a SEO Yoast plugin as well.
Yeah, and not all of my clients have that, and that's okay. My website doesn't have it. I think people forget about the meta description. They almost can see face value of what they've done, either in a Word doc, or they've given it to their web developer or given it to me or whatever. And that's fine, but it's that back end stuff, that back end copy that Google's also going to look for. So yeah, it will allow you to put in a description and a title that you don't really want it different, the title, to what you've written in your blog post, but definitely the description. If you are asking a question, answer that question within 1 or 2 sentences. So it's pretty much a summary of your blog post, but it will just provide people with not just Google, but anyone Googling that question with a bit of, okay, this is going to answer my question. I will click through. I will read more.
Meta description appears when someone has done a search and your blog is one of the options to click on.
Yeah.
So that took me, I never used to know that. I remember years ago, I'd be like, what? Where is a meta description? I don't understand where you see. So sometimes it's helpful for your web developer or the likes of us to just show people, where it appears, because then you understand what the customer is actually reading, in what context, and what else that they can see as well.
Yeah, I think that techie side almost overwhelms people, and it's like, actually, no, it's really easy to understand what it is if you're shown, you only know what you know. So I think, it's really good to break that down.
Yeah, I'm definitely, it depends what type of learner you are though, isn't it? Like I'm definitely by doing it, and they can then be doing it many times. But yeah, so there are all the places where you can add your keyword and key phrase. Some other things that we've spoken about and written down actually is around Google favoring long form content, but that doesn't mean the blogs have to be super long. It's about them being digestible and specific, concise, answering that question that's in your title, but also breaking down the writing, so it's not just chunks of paragraphs either. So having some bullet points in there, either like a question and answer, or even if you can add in some graphics or something like that into it instead of an image. And also a table at the top, a table of contents. I don't know if you do that within the format of your blogs. But I've had a conversation with my web developer recently, and she was sharing a blog that one of her other clients wrote. It was actually on, like, I think it was called 3 Foods to Eat if you've got IBS. And it was quite a short blog. It wasn't very long at all. And she'd added a table of content at the top. And Google actually did its thing, and she was ranked #1 for this blog. And what it picked out, the snippets that you get in Google,
SERPs,
so it picked hers out because of the table of content.
Oh, that's useful to know. I've never worked a table in, so that's worth a bit of research from my perspective.
So I don't know if, like, within different websites, that adding a table is a different content block style. I'm not quite sure. So it's just something to check out.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess overall, making it easy on the eye, but also specific, answering that question.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you've said. The long form content is a big thing for Google. It likes long form, but when I say long form, you're looking at like 13 to 1500 words, when actually a blog post is about 600 words, 750 tops. And I think I've had one client who once gave me a blog post with 3000 words. And I was like, this is more an article. And however much, you've put into this, people aren't going to read it if you're flagging it as a blog post. And I said, actually, you could break this down into 2, maybe 4 pieces and get more bites out of it than this one massive piece that people aren't going to read. And people do read for the web very differently how they'd read in paper, or, and that has to be reflected in how you write. So I think one of the things I recommend to clients is, even though Google would love this long form content, actually think about who's reading it. People don't have the time to read such long form content anymore, and actually the shorter versions of 5-sentence paragraphs, and as you say, throwing in graphics or bullets, really breaks it up for the reader. So yeah, I think it's finding that balance, really.
And people often scan, don't they, because of time and what stage of the buying journey they're in. If they are about ready to buy, they're going to be reading your content across your website in a lot more detail than if they're just probably exploring an option for something instead, and they've come across your content through a Google search.
And I think on that point, it's thinking about using bold as well as a formatting tool. That one, it draws people's eyes to a particular sentence if they were just skimming the content. But equally for Google, anything you do bold emphasizes it, and Google picks up on that as being emphasized content or important content. So yeah, use it sparingly, but use it, powerfully.
Don't do the whole blog in bold.
No, please don't do that.
So once we've got a blog, what do we do next? The blog's live, we're happy with it, we've got our green light on our SEO Yoast. What are the next steps?
Well, this is the bit I love. If it's, part of a campaign plan of attack, you can get so much out of one blog post. Be it included in an email as part of a newsletter, or part of a standalone piece of content to push out to your contacts. You could put it into social media as a post. You could even do a short vlog post on it as well. You just pull out a particular paragraph. I think people think they get one go and one crack at one blog post, and it doesn't need to be at all. You can get so much more, and that's what it's there for. That's why, if you're savvy with your time and savvy with what you've done and how you've written it, different images as well for your social posts, so people think it's new content each time.
Yeah, you can pretty much, so each of those paragraphs, if you've got like some subheaders that are answering the main question at the top there, and you've got 5 of them, even there, that's 5 different LinkedIn posts or 5 different Instagram posts in itself. The amount of, I know we don't say tweets anymore, but the amount of tweets that you've got in one blog post is mind-blowing. And also for me, even if you don't do that and you don't break it down into all of the short form content, you've got a blog that you can write about an intro in different ways, that you can put in your LinkedIn posts or your emails, like even like every quarter of the year, or you should be planning it throughout a year, not just landing it once. Like there's very many different ways that you can introduce it and introduce a topic, I think, by repeating the content.
Yeah, I think people worry that it will appear as the same old sort of content with the same messaging, but people, however integrated you make your marketing, not everybody sees it and takes it in at that one point in time. They might see it and notice your branding, and then it's sort of logged in their head, but you can repurpose it. And there's nothing wrong with repurposing a blog post 6-9 months on as part of a different campaign, or, you know, that's what marketing does. That's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Yeah, and I guess, and if you find that one channel performs really well, and you get a lot of engagement, then yeah, adding it to your content planner for the next month, like quite instantly, is fine to do. And sometimes just saying how popular it is, and then like thinking back to content strategy, if you find that a blog post has been really popular, what are you going to do with it in a different content format instead? Like, you can completely flip it on its head and do like some video content out of that and invest some time and money into it, if you found that it's been really popular,
Yeah,
research or on social.
Yeah. And flip the subject matter. Say, I'm not suggesting this because I don't think it's something someone would Google, but if you've got how to create a marketing strategy for a small business, we'll create a blog post. If it's very popular, create one that goes, well, what would happen if I don't have a marketing strategy?
Yeah.
So, you know, you're being really smart with it if that was something that someone would Google, and that's where the research comes into it. But, you know, you can pretty much repurpose the copy, let alone the subject matter, in a different way.
Yeah, definitely. Great. I think we've covered everything off that we was going to chat about.
Yeah, that's a good step-by-step. I suppose it's basics, isn't it? Just to help people. They can refer to this and come back to it.
And I think I'm going to write a blog on how to write a blog.
Nice.
That's okay.
Yeah, I like that.
That was a great conversation. I'm excited for episode 6 because we are speaking to various friends and professionals that we've met who want to be guest speakers with us, and I've actually asked if they can come on our podcast, which is really nice. So we're just planning on a topic and who we can bring on to kind of advance that conversation even further and go into a deep dive. So episode 6 might feature somebody else. If not episode 6, definitely 7. Episode 6. Yeah, watch this space.
Yeah, really good. I think it would be quite exciting to have someone challenge us on what we've said, actually. Maybe we've got it wrong, or maybe we could be doing something better, because it's all learning. I think it would be an interesting discussion then to break that down and go, okay, well, why? Why do you think this? And yeah,
that'd be good. Well, I'll see you on episode 6 then.
Yes, see you on episode 6. Maybe I'll have a request for a different cup other than this one. We'll see. I
like that cup. I think it's a good choice.
Thank you. Subject requests and cup requests I've had now. So
have a great day. I'll see you later.
And you take care. Bye.